Hey everybody, it's Ziz here, and that's right, the Camelot Unchained beta has finally wait a minute, what is that? What? Oh, it's not, the beta's not actually here yet. What'd you say? Oh, it's just the date for beta? I'm sorry. Clickbait title, right? I know. It's not surprising to any of you who watched the live stream, but that's right, we only have a date for beta. But those who have been waiting for Camelot Unchained all the way since the Kickstarter in April of 2013, a date for beta is almost as good as it gets. Obviously, we don't have a playable game yet, but we're going to talk about when beta is going to be happening, why it took so long to get here, what to expect from the beta when we finally get our hands on it, and last but not least, if we actually think they're going to make that date or if it's going to be delayed. So, of course, what you've been waiting for, the date for beta, is going to be 4th of July of this year. That's right. Just to be clear, 2018, July 4th, we're going to be able to play the game. And they said that hopefully, maybe, cross your fingers, if they're able to get it out sooner, they will. They're not purposely holding the beta back until that date. If it's ready sooner, they'll go sooner. But they think that's the best, most likely day. So we're going to talk about that, why it took so long to get here. And if you've been around since the Kickstarter, it has been a long wait. All the way back to 2013, April of 2013. So now it's February, that's almost 5 years, and beta is not gonna be till July. So it's gonna be over 5 years by the time we get a beta. And I know everybody says we want it to be great, but at the same time, you know, take your time, but hurry up, right? So we're excited to finally have this date, and they were able to give it to us for a couple of reasons. One, getting the most recent financing in definitely helped, gave them confidence to take their time. They also got a new producer in who was able to check with every single person in the studio to double check with them, figure out how much time they needed, what they're working on. They gave the date to Mark Jacobs, and then he told everybody sleep on it over the weekend. They came back today, they built it in a buffer, and that's the date that they have. And so they're really very confident that July 4th is going to be the date. Now, I want to talk about real quick why it took so long to get here. And I don't want this to be a negative thing, but I just want to inform you guys so you kind of understand why it takes so long. First of all, 5 years for an MMO when they're building their own engine sounds like a long time, but that's not really that long. Usually it takes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to make an MMO. And those are games that aren't doing anything that different, aren't doing anything that special. And we know Camelot Unchained is doing a lot of stuff that is breaking the mold, trying to do things that no game has ever done before. The difference here is that we knew about it basically from the beginning, right? All the way back in Kickstarter. And so normally you find out of a game, you know, when it's getting closer, alpha and beta, and then, oh, it's a year or two and it's out. So, but a couple of reasons why it's taken longer than expected. Two main reasons you may know. One was hiring. The offices for City State Entertainment are up in Fairfax, Virginia, which, if you don't know anything about Fairfax, Virginia, it's up in the corner of the United States, and it costs a lot to live there, and there's not a lot of developers. It's not like a hub of tech center, right? It's not California or Seattle or even down in Texas, right? So when they did the Kickstarter, they thought, hey, we'll hire some devs and they'll move up here and everything will be happy, perfect. But unfortunately, that's not the way it worked out. In fact, it was so difficult. Obviously, they have like hiring agencies, but it was so difficult to get people. They even did like, you know, extensions where after the Kickstarter, they're like, hey, let's raise another $100,000 to try to get more developers, to sweeten the pot, to, you know, maybe give them a bonus or help pay for moving, whatever it was. And they still couldn't get developers. And so hiring people has been a huge, huge problem. Even they hired one guy and then he went and worked somewhere else like 2 days later, stuff like that, which has just been such a difficult process for them. I can't imagine. Now, they did kind of alleviate that because Mark Jacobs took money out of his own pocket and started up a satellite studio in Seattle. So a lot easier to get people there, talent, way more developers. So they've been able to ramp up. Plus, with the newest money they got in, they're going to hire more people and be easier to get them. But that was the big thing. Number two is the skill system, refactoring that. We know in Camelot Unchained, you can make your own skills, right? So you get fire and a ball and you make a fireball, right? Well, it wasn't working the way they wanted it to. Like, they pieced it together and it was kind of working, and they could have done a beta a long time ago, but they knew that it was going to cause problems down the road. And so before they went down that road, before they said, you know, before it was too late, they said, let's stop, let's kind of rebuild a lot of stuff we did, get it to a place where we want it before we go on. And so those are the two big reasons why it was so difficult. And another thing that didn't necessarily delay it, but one thing that they've been working towards for beta is they wanted a fun, playable experience. Up till now, they've had some tests, like snap tests and stuff, where you're testing the server and latency and logging in and all this sort of stuff. That's not really fun. That doesn't keep people coming back and testing every week. And so they wanted a fun, playable experience. So that's why I want to talk about what to expect from beta when it does finally come out. First, you can go read the beta doc. It's out on their website. Details a whole bunch of stuff, what they want to be in the game for beta. And the biggest thing you want to check out, as far as what's going to be going on, are the Friday night fights. These are going to be specific tests. They're not going to just leave the server open all the time, but these are going to be, you know, focused tests on Friday, where they're going to be clear directions. So it's going to be like, hey, we're going to siege this castle, and, you know, the Arthurians, you guys are defending, and everybody else is attacking, and let's test the sieges and stuff like that. And so it's going to be a focused, fun experience, which I can tell you from another game in testing, Crowfall, the most fun I ever had testing that game was when they did a thing called the Hunger Dome, which was similar in the sense that we had a goal and there was, you know, a keep, and we were fighting towards it. And now it's just kind of open and random, and people are running around doing a little, but it's not really fun. And so there's not very many people testing that game. And for Camelot Unchained, where they need hundreds and maybe thousands of people to test what they want the game to be like at launch, they need to have a focused test where everybody can come in and it's actually fun, where they want to keep playing, right? So the Friday night tests are going to be a lot of fun. We don't know when the NDA is going to drop. Mark Jacobs said that it will drop sometime during beta. There's going to be some tests even, so it's not going to be like a specific date and then it's always open. It might be like, hey, this test, you know, this build is really polished, we're going to lift the NDA for this test. And so people can post videos or stream and stuff like that. But then maybe down the road, a week or two later, hey, this is a new build, it's not polished, don't stream this one, right? So it's going to kind of go up and down. Eventually it will come open, you know, open beta and stuff. But we'll get more video, because a lot of the videos are out there are old stuff, years old, years and years, using old system with old models and old environments. So it'll be great to finally get some new stuff out so people can see and be excited about the game. One other thing too to expect from beta, I know this has been out there, it's really kind of crazy. Mark Jacobs has always given refunds. They've been developing the game for 5 years. He's been paying people for 5 years, but if for whatever reason you said, hey, I want a refund, it might take him a little while because he's doing it all himself, but he'll give you a refund back. But they've said that once beta starts, they're going to stop refunds. And so I would imagine that would probably be like the July 4th date when they actually officially start the beta. So if for any reason, if you wanted to refund, make sure you get in before then. But I think it's great that they stop that. It'll stop a lot of drama, which is really great. Now, last but not least, maybe the most divisive and controversial topic, are they actually going to meet this goal? And if you go watch the live stream, I'll have a link to it down below so you can click on it and watch the whole thing if you want. It was really funny because, like I said earlier, they have this new producer, right? Talk to everybody to make sure they could get the most accurate date possible. Now, obviously, we know in development, stuff, you know, kind of shifts around, but they're really pretty confident in this date. But during the live stream, they kept saying, well, if we get done early, we'll do it early. Or sometimes it can take a little longer. So even in this really confident 5 years after Kickstarter date, it's still kind of like, well, we really think it's going to be good. And we built in a buffer, but you never know what can happen. And as much as I love those guys, we kind of got to look at their past a little bit. Look at their track record. A couple things I want to link to you here. These are some interviews they did at Massively OP. We go all the way back to July of 2015 when they did the first delay. And this is when I talked about where they hired a developer and then 2 days later he got another job somewhere else. And they're talking about the delays then and how it was hard to hire people. And the question came up, when are we expecting beta? Because we were really expecting beta like August of 2015, 3 years ago, we were expecting beta. And so Mark Jacobs said there's a chance it could be next year. Now, when he said next year, he was referring to 2016. But when you say there's a chance, you're saying there's a chance it could have been that year. So even way back then in 2015, he was still kind of on the fence. Yeah, we might get it in 2015, maybe 16, right? Then go a year later, now it's April of 2016. It gets delayed again. This is when they're doing the refactoring. Another interview at Massively OP. And the question is, how long is this second beta delay going to be? You know, is it going to be weeks? Is it going to be months? Could it possibly be pushed all the way out to 2017? Right? No way, but could it possibly? And the answer came back from Mark Jacobs: weeks. Back in April of 2016, when they started doing the refactoring, which supposedly took all this time, it was weeks. So as much as I love them, and I know they're working hard, and I believe they're going to give us a great game, if we're asking the question, is beta actually going to come out in July of this year? Looking at their past, weeks turned into 2 years. So as much as I want to see it happen, I'm not betting any of my Bitcoin on it. I don't have any Bitcoin, but if I did. But the good news to this is, one, they have a new producer, which is great. Tyler was doing it before, one of the developers there, but he was also developing the game. So now that, as far as I know, they have a dedicated producer, and what the producer's job is to do is to keep everybody on track and make schedules and help everybody work together, right? So that's definitely going to help. They also have some investors. Now, the investors aren't like this evil overlords who are like, you have to do it at this date, and right? They're really cool. They're really nice. They're letting Mark Jacobs do their thing. But at the same time, there's no way I could believe an investor who puts in $6.5 million, $7 million. If the delay was 2 years again, they would be okay with that, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're going to get involved at all, but there's no way they could let that happen again where it goes on for so long. So that's what we got here. July 4th is the set date. It could be out sooner. If you're a tester, check your emails, go on the forum, because you can get access before that to tests. Even beta 1 people could get access before that. Like I said, if they're done early, they said they're going to put it out early. And even beta 2 people, if your package has beta 2, they're going to let you into some of the beta 1 tests. So check it out. Again, I got links below for all this stuff. I'm really excited. I'm even hopeful. I'll say I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. To see my most recent video, click there on the left. Another one you might like is on the right. To subscribe, click that button in the middle. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.